So, hey, welcome everybody. My name is Steve Chernosky, and this is Tap Into You, a new podcast on regional issues brought to you by Tap Into Flemington Raritan, your neighborhood news online. Find us at tapinto.net. This episode taped on December 22nd, 2020, and we'll begin conversations with local business owners discussing how they started up, the current challenges they face during the COVID-19 pandemic, and what they see in the future. And today I'm joined with Bird Brewing in Stockton, New Jersey, Adam Juncosa. You officially opened your doors, if I'm correct, at Bird in Stockton, right on Route 29 there by the gas station. You officially opened up in January of 2020. Is that correct?
Yeah, February 1st was kind of our first day open to the public. We were open like a few days beforehand as a soft opening to see, family and friends, and it kind of escalated to neighbors and then out the door. But February 1st was kind of our first day.
Cool. Then a month later we're quarantining. But I guess before we get fast forward to that,
Yeah.
how was the first month? I mean, how the festivities, the customers that first month, how were things going in February?
It was fantastic. Honestly, it was a little overwhelming the first weekend. The only employees at that point, well, still kind of at this point, was just me and my wife Karen. So we were running the tap room, open the doors, and all of a sudden it's just packed because there's not a whole lot of breweries in our specific area, and nobody wants to be there the first day. Walked home that night and be like, what did we do? Is this a good
Wow.
idea? Kind of shell shocked. And by the next weekend we had our feet underneath us, and it was fun. I mean, it was a lot of fun. We were seeing neighbors and people in Stockton and people in the other local areas. I mean, we didn't advertise because we were kind of tiny. We still
Yeah.
are. And it was just good seeing people in a very kind of old school pub manner, where it was like, we've got long tables, so you'd see like people from one side of the town and people from the other side of the town, like, oh yeah, I've seen you before, and then sitting down and
Yeah.
having beer together. It was cool, especially like January, February, beginning of March in New Jersey. People kind of hibernate most of the times.
Yeah.
I mean, in previous years, like not even talking about this year. So it was cool. It was fun.
So, I do want to get into how you started like a little bit. I know the homebrew story. I see the Annihilated, sweatshirt in the background, and some of those guys are a conclave now, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, how you were a home brewer for 15 years before you decided to,
Well,
start this venture. Oh,
12.
12 years. Okay.
Well, I was in a beer for, well, more than 15 years, but about 15 years. Uh, but yeah, homebrewing for 12 years. Our homebrew club, the Annihilated, out of Lambertville and New Hope, um, has been around for, we're coming up on 10 years in this year. Two of the guys went on to start Conclave, and actually one of the other guys, who was one of the best brewers I know, just did a collaboration with Freewell, and
Oh,
the Annihilated logo is on one of their most recent cans, which is just the
nice.
neatest thing.
Cool. And so, things are going well. You just started this business. You and then you're seeing. I guess by February, like I remember going to a hockey game in New Jersey, in Newark, and like I got like my bottle of hand sanitizer with me, and it feels like something's coming. And then March, the shutdown happens in mid March, and
Yeah.
what as a business owner, what what's going through your mind?
Uh, Honestly, it was surreal. My sister-in-law is in the Coast Guard, high up in the Coast Guard, and was on the West Coast, and kind of gave us a heads up, like relatively early, saying, this is something that's going on. You guys should start planning, start thinking about this. Um, and anything we do, we try to think out greatly. The last weekend we were open, March 13th and 14th, and we were really contemplating closing that weekend, closing early before anyone else did. But it was a weird weekend because it was like 60 degrees. and it was really warm during the day on that, and our brewery, two of the sides basically open up because of the garage doors.
Right.
So we had the garage doors open, we had the ventilation going, we had the fans going, and we were able to open, and we were sanitizing everything like before any of the shutdowns, before any of the actual um, you know ABC and New Jersey and federal pushed anything to happen. Um, right after we shut down, it was just kind of like, okay, what are we doing now? And it was we closed for 2 weeks, because if we were going to do something, we wanted to make sure it was done uh, feeling thoughtful and well thought out, and not just ad hoc. So we spent 2 weeks, and I'm from a tech background, so I built a website and the ability to order our beer online, uh, where you couldn't tell. Hopefully, couldn't tell between our brewery's website and like a nationwide brewery's website. It's kind of the vibe we wanted, and we wanted people to be able to feel really comfortable getting our beer. So we moved to 100% to go, crowlers only, the 32-ounce cans that are becoming popular now. We opened with a crowler machine because I saw one on the West Coast, and I'm like, that's awesome. Kind of hate growlers, so it worked out. And then we moved to open up our garage door, had a screen between us and the customers because no one had any idea what was going on at that point. You could order your beer, pay for it online, and walk up, and then we handed you with gloves and
Yep.
sanitized wipes, handed you your beer, and that was it. And that's what we did for a couple months.
No, I mean, to those listeners who have never been there, I mean, yeah, it's exactly like he's describing. It's a large building, well, relatively large room, and you do have these two huge
Garage.
garages. Yeah, and so when you open it up, it did make for like there have been a couple businesses that I've seen like they've utilized their entrances or exits in some cases, um, just as very efficient takeout, right? Weather permitting too.
Yeah.
Very efficient. So I mean, like, as you are you thinking though, as a business owner, like, um, this what a great time to open a new business at first.
Um, I, you know what? So many people had it way harder than us. I try not to be ever woe is me. I mean, I'm sure other people I'm friends with would disagree with me on that, but like as outwardly, and especially when it comes to the business, the fact that we were so low overhead, and the fact that we didn't have to worry about a huge amount of employees, and those are the people that my heart goes out to.
Yeah,
The people who have a tasting room that has 15 employees, and they have to figure out how to handle that, and like how to keep those people like paid, and you know in you know in their apartments or their houses and everything, where we didn't have to worry about that. So because we were so low overhead, and because we kind of had a to go mindset going into it, um, it worked. It was crazy trying to pivot on a regular basis, but it wasn't as bad. It wasn't as bad as a lot of other people at it, you know.
yeah.
So can't complain.
So besides creating the website and optimizing beer for takeout, which was, I'm sure, it existed, right? But I mean, I know there was some, Bob of Lone Eagle was delivering in a certain
Yeah,
mile radius, like,
yeah.
because the state changed the rules on that. Um, did you notice, like, and then as the weather gets good and our numbers go down, like what are some of the customer patterns that you noticed emerged once you decided to make the call and say, all right, well, we can go ahead and open up our outdoor seating area.
So we went 100% to go until beginning of August, I think. And that's a whole different topic, is the fact of how the ABC, the Alcohol Beverage Control, handled allowing breweries to have outside spaces, and allowing people with which was sorry, I don't want to go on tangents, but if anything was a silver lining in this really ridiculously difficult year, is how well the ABC worked with the brewers and the Brewers Association and all that stuff to make it work, to just cut red tape, to just allow, you know, people to continue business was fantastic. And it was shocking, but it was
Huh.
fantastic. But for us, when it comes to the customers, so we bought a tent. We closed for 2 weeks to kind of figure everything out, because again, we didn't want to, like, hey, we're just gonna have some chairs in a parking lot, and we're in a gas station, which is really weird. We're the weirdest gas station in New Jersey, but sitting in on like lawn chairs in a gas station parking lot drinking beer, it's, if you're tailgating maybe, but normally it doesn't work. So we wanted to make it feel right. So we got the AstroTurf and got the figured everything out. So we were able to open up a very beer garden-esque tent for people, and then wanted to make sure that all the chairs were about 30% more than the regulated distance between them, because we didn't,
Right.
Karen and I, we have immunocompromised family members, so we are very conscious of wanting to make sure that people not just felt safe but were safe. So we kind of like went the extra mile on that, and kind of a lot of sleepless nights trying to figure it out. But the cool thing is, once we opened up, we got a lot of people who were coming in and being like, I haven't been anywhere since March, and
Yeah.
we kind of like poked our heads in, and hey, this feels okay, and this is the first normal thing we're doing since March, and we did that for,
Wow.
yeah, it was cool. That was
To hear
really
that,
cool.
and to hear that in August or September is
Yes.
wow.
Yeah, we were definitely hearing that on a regular basis. Our patrons are amazing. I mean, we've kept really under the radar, uh, by design, sort of, just so we're not overwhelmed. Wow, that sounded mildly
No,
condescending. I didn't
it
mean that.
sounded like is
But
that like I'm running a good enough business where I don't have to advertise as much.
yeah, yeah,
That's what it
yeah.
sounded
I
like.
mean, so we wanted to keep it like, we wanted to organically grow, and just, so people found out about us, and it, people were amazing. I mean, people, like, the patrons were amazing. People were just really happy to be out and in public around people and feeling some semblance of normalcy,
Hmm.
without feeling like, hey, I'm jammed in a place where there's somebody like right next to me and I don't know who this person is. And it was cool. It really worked really well. We did it for a couple months until it started getting too cold and the wind almost threw our tent into traffic. But that's a whole different story.
Wow. Oh wow. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, it was a tent. And you had the nice, artificial grass. I guess what kind of beers have you done? From the beginning, have you changed it up seasonally? Has being shut down made you get more inventive or try things you wouldn't have tried, or did you always have a plan right along? This is how the season's going to look.
Oh yeah. No, the best laid plans of mice and brewers or something. I don't know. It was weird. This year has been weird, and honestly, I am trying to look at like silver linings, and there has been a bunch of them. When we first started, we had 9 physical taps on our you know um, in our brewery, like behind the bar, because we had to like plan ahead, because they're through, it's a piece of stone, so we have a piece of local quarry stone with our taps coming out of it, so we couldn't really add more afterwards. So we're like, 9. That's what we're gonna do. So when we opened with 4 beers, and we really tried to like focus on like classic styles, but also doing IPAs, but not necessarily the IPAs that are very popular right now, like more of a classic IPA and a modern rendition that sounds not too pretentious.
Maybe modern English. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's so um, so we had 4 beers. We're like, okay, by a year in, we may have six. We may have 6 beers, and that's what we're gonna do. But then when we went to go only, it's a totally different animal. So we ended up, you know, being able to brew a lot more, and then you're moving a lot more beer because when you're going to go, it's more beer out the door regularly, and the
Right.
margins aren't as good, but like the physical amount of beer you're moving is higher. So it forced us to brew a lot more than we kind of anticipated. So, and then we started brewing a lot more styles than we anticipated. And but things that I wanted to brew, like things I'm like, okay, by year 2 I'll do this style of beer because it's going to take a while. But all of a sudden we had tank space, and we're like, okay, well, we can start doing, mixed fermentation, weird sour beers, and age them in barrels from Alba, because we have the ability to do that with our tasting room closed. We can put things in there. We were able to do long aged lagers.
Yep.
We have a pilsner that if we had the tasting room open, I'm not sure if I'd be able to have held up a tank for 3 months to make that beer.
And
Um,
pilsners and lagers take longer to brew.
yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Pilsner lager takes about like an IPA takes 3 weeks. How we do pilsners takes about 3 months. So,
Wow.
or how we do lagers do about 3 months. So it's just been, we really changed how we did things, how we're doing our beers. We're really still focusing on like low percentage classic styles. I mean, the beer we're the most proud of is our Kolsch, which probably
Yeah.
was our. I mean, very few breweries their best seller is a Kolsch, so it was pretty cool. It was weird and hard to even explain, and I still haven't even wrapped my head around it. And about a year from now, I'll be able to look back at the logs and be like, oh, okay, that was cool.
And because of the pandemic, were ingredients harder to obtain? Were any ingredients harder to obtain?
No, and that
Wow,
was that was that was a
surprising.
big thing that we were all worried about that. And like honestly, when I started the immediate like March, when we're like, hey, we're shutting down, we sat down. We're like, okay, well, we're ordering like 3 pallets of everything. We're ordering all our grain. We're ordering all our hops. We're just ordering stuff. We bought a chest freezer, huge 20 cubic foot one to just put hops in, and like really we're like, hey, if things break down, we're good. I mean, our yeast is all from a uh, local yeast wrangler from Hillsboro. Shout out to East Coast Yeast in Albach, seriously best yeast ever. Um, but no, the only thing that we saw long lead times on, and other breweries saw it a lot worse than us, were aluminum cans. That was
Ah,
rough.
it's interesting.
Yeah, so we do all our stuff in crowlers, the 32-ounce ones.
You don't do the 4 packs.
We don't do 4 packs. We are small. To do 4 packs, you kind of need for our size, it's like a certain setup fee, and that setup
Got it.
fee for our size doesn't really make financial sense at this point. We'll see what happens in the future. Bigger breweries have the same setup fee, but you know they're putting out 8 times as much beer, so it spreads further.
And you are a nano. You define yourself as a nano
Oh yeah,
brewery,
yeah.
right?
I
Yeah. So
think
you're
yeah, I
100
think we're right on the
barrels.
nano. Yeah,
Yep.
I think nano is like under 250 barrels. I may be totally making that up, but we're about 100 barrels this year. We'll probably max out at like 300 barrels. So
Gotcha. Hey,
barrel is 31 gallons of beer.
so one of my questions I'm going to ask to all the businesses is like, where do you see the state going from here with, permanent changes? There's certain restrictions that have always been big battles. Like you guys can't have food. You can't like show sporting events.
Yeah,
New Jersey right now, according to brewersassociation.org, ranks 46th in breweries per capita. And
yeah,
I'm sure a lot of those restrictions are partially the reason why.
yeah.
What do you, where, if, I guess a better question is, I ask this too much, but if you could wave a magic wand, So it allows you some fanciful imagination here. If you could wave a magic wand, what would you like to see stay the same, change, going forward into the future?
Um, for us, we are small, so we're able to work in whatever framework we're given. I mean, that's we, I'm in, I'm a council person, so I understand the limitations of government movement and all that stuff. I would love to, uh, this is a whole nother hour of conversation on that, but no, I'll keep it small. Honestly, a lot of the things that they added, like the ability to have outdoor seating, the ability to have delivery, the
Right.
ability to just random things like that. And there's a couple other things that they're adding in, making those permanent, realizing that the breweries, there's so few of us. There's what, 150 breweries in New Jersey, maybe at this point. That the guys who opened in
That's
2012,
about right.
like the
Yeah, you almost got that on the nose. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, the guys who uh, who started in 2012, Augie, Carton, Kane, Kate May, all those ones. Um, they really had to like fight an uphill battle, and they really needed to do. They needed to be big. They needed to do a lot of distribution because that was the way to make money. Because tasting rooms were kneecapped. Um, the fact that breweries have done really well in New Jersey, that tasting rooms is a very unique culture and a very unique space, um, that you're not getting at a local bar. And you don't, people aren't going to a tasting room instead of going to a local bar. It's a different mindset. It's not a competition. It really isn't. The fact that can't do, I would love to be able to see like, hey, we can partner with a restaurant. We can do stuff like that.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
that would be
the fact
good.
that you
Yeah.
can't partner with a restaurant is crazy. Like, I would love to be able to see somebody be able to come into a brewery tasting room and with their family, which you know the amount of kids that we had at our tasting room was fantastic. The amount of families that would go out
Yeah.
and have a beer or two and bring food in and just make an afternoon of it was wonderful. Really, like, it felt good. I would love to see the New Jersey legislature, especially like after this, say, hey, during the pandemic, during the worst of times, the limited brewery license owners, which is 150 of them instead of the 6,000, random other liquor license owners, whether it be bars, liquor stores,
Right.
whatever, who've kind of looked at breweries as competition.
Yeah, it's
Or
a big issue for people that don't know.
yeah, it looked at us as competition and looked at us as, hey, they're taking our business, so we need to make sure that they stay in their place. That the legislature looks at us as, hey, they were good actors during this. These guys, as far as I know, there was no infractions from breweries during this whole thing, and ABC's been
Unlike some
paying attention.
bars that made the news.
Yeah, yeah. So saying, hey, they're good actors. They know they're doing this right. They're following the rules. We should give them a little bit more, leadway to
Hmm.
to I don't want to say get bigger, or just follow through.
Why not get bigger? I mean, if you're
Yeah, yeah.
helping business, if you're creating jobs by getting
Yeah.
bigger, if you're able to make enough money where you can hire local people to
Agreed.
employ, that should be seen as a win-win. And here I do have the number now, is that the one estimate, according to NJ.com, is that 37 to 42 of independently owned restaurants could face a fear of some closure,
Yeah.
potentially. And so that, look, I mean, adding a local brew to a local restaurant and kind of cutting red tape along. I mean, it almost reminds me of what Troon does in Hopewell with Brick
Yeah.
Farm, and I know that's probably classified differently as a farm brewery, right? Or I don't even know what
No,
it's
no, no,
classified on.
they're a
I can
limited
never get
brewery.
their beer. I mean, he posts. Everybody knows he's more like I. It's I don't have
Alex is a cool
Instagram.
guy.
I don't
Alex,
have Instagram. So
yeah,
and I'm
yeah,
not that crazy that I'm gonna drive up as soon as I see a post. For people that don't know, they pretty much advertise over Instagram, if that's fair to say.
yeah,
Not to knock it. I think I've had it once or twice, and it's just very hard to get. It sells out very quickly.
yeah,
But they also do sell it nearby at the Brick Farm Tavern, I think it is, restaurant in Hopewell, and
yep,
it is on tap there.
yep.
And that kind of is, if you miss out on all those Instagram posts, you could always have dinner at the Brick Farm Tavern.
Crazy good food.
Yeah, oh
Crazy
yeah,
good food.
it is. No, it really is, in a
Yeah,
very unique menu.
yeah. They are a singular thing, and it's really cool. I give Alex huge amounts of respect for what he does. But yeah, no, their thing is, they're on the same property, and they sell kegs to the restaurant, but like they don't partner with the restaurant. They're separately licensed
Hmm.
places, so it works for them. It really works for them. It's a very unique space, and we kind of have. I mean, we have a very very mini me version of that. Is in our same gas station. We have the Rosemont Supper Club, which used to be in Rosemont. I think they're actually called RSC Atelier now, if I can pronounce that properly. It's a difficult French word for me. So they were in Rosemont, then they were in the Stockton market, and now they are a restaurant and on the other side of the gas station from us.
Huh.
And they sell amazing American French fusion rustic stuff, and it's like 99% ready to go, and you can just order it online and pick it up, and their food's awesome. And one of the things that is really cool that kind of benefits us, um, but like unintentionally, is they do build your own charcuterie plates. So you can go to their website and pick, I want this, like these really cool, like, meats and cheeses and breads and, all kinds of interesting things that they make in house. And then go pick it up, pay for it, walk over to our space and sit down with world-class charcuterie and order a beer, which is pretty cool. And like, it works where we're working within the guidelines of the ABC, but like to be able to actually like partner and do something like that, like further that, with it being 100% on the up and up, would be the coolest thing in the world.
Cool. Well, hey, Adam, thank you again. Again, this has been Tap Into You by Tap Into Flemington Raritan, your neighborhood news online. Find us at tapinto.net. I'm Steve Chernosky, and I've been joined here by Adam Juncosa, the co-owner of Odd Bird Brewing in Stockton, New Jersey. Adam, can you tell me one more time where they can find you?
Oddbirdbrewing.com has literally all of our information and the ability to order our beer for pickup. So,
and Adam built the website pretty much himself, right?
yes, something like that.